Good morning. Before we rush into this day, before we check our phones, before we trust our own thoughts and plans, let's slow down for just a moment and come into the presence of God. This is not a time to perform, not a time to impress, but a quiet moment to let our hearts settle and our spirits listen. Wherever you are right now, take a breath and remember you are not here by accident. God is already with you. There is a kind of blindness that is easy to miss because it doesn't feel like blindness at all. In fact, it often feels like confidence. It feels like certainty. It feels like, I know what I'm doing. I know what's right. I see clearly. And that kind of blindness can be the most dangerous of all. Because when we believe we see clearly, we stop asking God to show us the truth. The Bible tells us about a man who was absolutely convinced he was right. He was disciplined, educated, respected, and deeply religious. He knew the scriptures. He believed he was serving God with his whole heart. And yet, he was completely blind. Not blind in his eyes, but blind in his soul. He thought he was defending the truth when, in reality, he was fighting against it. He thought he was walking in the light, while he was actually walking in darkness. And here's the part that should humble every one of us this morning. His blindness didn't come from rebellion. It didn't come from laziness. It came from misplaced certainty, from trusting his own understanding more than God's voice, from being so sure of his perspective that he never questioned whether his vision needed correction. That same danger still exists today. We can attend church. We can know Christian language. We can listen to worship music. We can even pray regularly. And still, little by little, begin to see life through the wrong lens, through culture, through emotion, through past wounds, through fear, through pride. We may not call it blindness, but it shows up in how we react, how we judge, how we prioritize, and how we make decisions. In the morning, especially, this matters, because the way you start your day often shapes the way you see everything that follows. When you wake up, your mind is already forming conclusions about yourself, about your problems, about what today will bring. And if we're honest, most of those conclusions are formed without ever asking God, Lord, am I seeing this clearly? Spiritual blindness doesn't always look like rejecting God. Sometimes it looks like assuming God agrees with us. It looks like trusting our instincts without surrendering them. It looks like moving forward confidently, without ever pausing to ask whether our vision has been shaped more by habit than by truth. That's why this morning prayer matters. Not because God is far away and needs to be invited, but because our hearts are often crowded and need to be quieted. Before this day unfolds, before choices are made and words are spoken, we need to acknowledge a simple truth. Without God, our vision is limited. We see pieces, not the whole. We see the moment, not eternity. We see how things feel, not always how they truly are. So this morning, let this be the posture of your heart. Not, God bless my plans, but, God, show me where I might be blind. Not, Lord, I've got this, but, Lord, I need your light. Because the most loving thing God can do is not always to change our circumstances, but to change the way we see them. As this day begins, let's ask for something deeper than success, deeper than comfort, deeper than clarity in our own strength. Let's ask for an honest vision, the kind that humbles us, the kind that realigns us, the kind that prepares our hearts to see life, people, and even ourselves through God's truth, not our assumptions. And as we do, let's trust that God is gentle with those who come to Him, willing to see. As this morning continues, let's stay right here in this quiet space with God. Let the noise of yesterday fade, and don't rush ahead to everything waiting for you today. This moment matters because how you see this day will shape how you walk through it. And when God opens our eyes, He doesn't just help us understand more, He helps us see differently. When God opened the eyes of Apostle Paul, his life didn't suddenly become easier. The problems didn't disappear. The opposition didn't go away. In many ways, his life became harder. But what changed was not his circumstances, it was his perspective. He began to see his suffering through eternity. He began to see purpose where there once was only pain. He began to see God at work even when the road ahead looked uncertain. That's something we often misunderstand. We think spiritual sight means clarity about outcomes. We want to know how everything will turn out. We want reassurance that the day will go smoothly, that the burden will lift quickly, that the answer will come soon. But God's way is often different. When He opens our eyes, He doesn't always explain the road ahead. Instead, He shows us who He is on the road with us. Spiritual sight doesn't remove the weight of responsibility, but it changes how we carry it. It doesn't erase disappointment, but it gives disappointment meaning. It doesn't silence every fear, but it reminds us that fear does not have the final word. When our eyes are opened, we stop measuring life only by what we feel in the moment, and we begin to measure it by what God is doing beyond the moment. This is especially important in the morning, because today will bring emotions. It will bring pressure. It may bring frustration, temptation, or exhaustion, and if we're not careful, we'll interpret everything through those emotions. We'll assume that a hard moment means a bad day. We'll assume that delay means denial. We'll assume that struggle means failure. But when God opens our eyes, we learn to see differently. We learn that a hard day can still be a holy day. That waiting can still be fruitful. That weakness can still be a place where God's strength is revealed. Seeing through eternity means remembering that today is not the whole story, that this moment is not the final chapter, that God is working in ways we cannot yet see. And this kind of vision doesn't come once and stay forever. It has to be renewed daily. Our eyes can be opened and still grow tired. Our vision can be clear and still become blurred again by worry, distraction, or fear. That's why each morning we come back to God and say, "Lord, help me see." Not just see the obvious, but see the unseen. Help me see your hand where I might only notice obstacles. Help me see your faithfulness where I might be focused on what's missing. Help me see this day not through anxiety or pressure, but through the quiet confidence that you are already at work. So as you step into this day, don't ask God to simply make it easier. Ask Him to make your vision clearer. Ask Him to lift your eyes above the rush, above the noise, above the emotions that try to define your reality. Because when God opens our eyes, we may still walk through difficulty, but we no longer walk through it alone, and we no longer walk through it without hope. As we come to the end of this time together, let's bring everything we've heard into something deeply personal. Because when God opens our eyes, He never does it just so we can understand more. He does it so we can live differently. Spiritual sight always leads to a choice. Once you see the truth, you're invited to walk in it. Living with open eyes means learning discernment in a world that is constantly competing for your attention. Not everything that looks good is good. Not every voice that sounds confident is trustworthy. Not every path that feels easy is the one God is calling you to walk. With open eyes, we begin to measure what we hear, what we believe, and what we follow against the truth of God's word, not against popular opinion or personal comfort. We learn to slow down before we agree, to pray before we decide, to listen for God's wisdom instead of reacting on impulse. It also means seeing yourself differently. When God opens your eyes, He doesn't just change how you see the world, He changes how you see yourself. You stop defining your worth by your past mistakes, your productivity, or other people's expectations. You begin to see yourself as God sees you, forgiven, chosen, redeemed, and deeply loved. That doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you secure. It frees you from striving and grounds you in grace. And when your identity is clear, your decisions become clearer too. Living with open eyes also calls us into obedience. Seeing truth comes with responsibility. When God opens your eyes to the needs around you, you can no longer pretend you didn't notice. You begin to see the hurting, the overlooked, the lonely. You become aware of moments where kindness is needed, where patience matters, where love must be shown even when it costs you something. Obedience isn't always dramatic. Often, it's quiet. It's choosing honesty when lying would be easier. Choosing forgiveness when holding on to bitterness feels justified. Choosing faithfulness in small things when no one else is watching. And yes, living this way has a cost. Seeing clearly may mean walking a path that others don't understand. It may mean letting go of things that once felt important. It may mean standing firm when it would be easier to blend in. But the gift of open eyes is worth it, because with clear vision comes deep peace, the kind that doesn't depend on circumstances, but on trust. So as this morning prayer comes to a close, let this be the quiet cry of your heart. Lord, keep my eyes open today. Don't let fear cloud my vision. Don't let distraction dull my sensitivity to your voice. Don't let comfort pull me away from obedience. Help me see truth clearly, walk humbly, love boldly, and trust you fully. And as you step into this day, trust that God is faithful to guide those who genuinely desire to see.